Hi, today I want to talk about the startup transition cycle, or short STC, which is an acronym I just made up. So, let's draw this startup transition cycle. We have two axes. We have the y-axis, which on the top you have happy, and negatively you have sad. Now the x-axis is time. So when you start out and you have an idea, you get real excited about it. Now this stage, which you can represent right around here, this stage is known as the uninformed optimism stage. Now, you are super excited about it, and the main reason why you're really excited about it is you don't know anything about this idea. You just had it, you don't know much about the space, you don't know much about the technologies required, you don't know any of the stumbling blocks that you might encounter. But the problem is, as time progresses, so as we continue down this curve, you start to realize, oh, I didn't know how that worked, and like, there's this issue, and then there's that issue. So you then hit another stage, and this stage is known as the informed pessimism stage. This is not a great stage. This is where you've been working on this idea for a while, unfortunately, and you just get a lot of bad news. You didn't realize that the music industry worked this way. You didn't realize how expensive it was to be able to sell to all these small businesses. You didn't realize all the sort of stumbling blocks you were going to run into in terms of the technology and issues there. So what happens is you start to go real low, and then you hit this stage right here, which is at the very bottom. And at this point, you can either go of one of two paths. You either keep going, or you turn the corner. Now, this stage right here, this is the crisis of meaning stage. And at this stage, you're really wondering if you should actually be working on this idea. What is it about your idea anyways? What is salvageable? What works? What can you actually turn this thing into? It's a very, very depressing stage. And usually what happens to most people is they go along this sort of red line here, and that's called the death spiral. And at that point, they either quit on their idea or they move on to something else. Now, sometimes, and rarely, and this is the key to almost all startups, is they're actually able to turn this corner here and start heading back up. And when you've done that, this stage here, this stage is known as the informed optimism stage. Now, what's happened at this point is you've basically understood, you know a lot about the space that you're working in, you know, if it's a music startup, you know a ton about the music industry, and you realize that based on all the learnings you've done, this entire sort of ride through this entire cycle, you've learned a ton of stuff, and you say, well, wait a minute, there's actually an opportunity. It may not be what I was thinking of originally, but if I just pivot, and that's the word people sometimes use, and come up with a slightly varied version of this idea, I might actually make it. And this is like the point of genius right in here. This is where you have to figure out if you have what it takes to be creative enough to sort of turn this corner, or you're going to go down the death spiral. One last thing about the startup transition cycle, which is super scary, is this concept that when you're going along this path here, so you're off to this little race, what often happens is this is such a depressing turn right here that sometimes you get so unenthusiastic about your idea that you will actually sort of come up with a new idea. And during that stage, when you have this new idea, you're so negative about your current idea because you're heading down this path. And this new idea, it seems great. And what often happens is you're actually going to quit early, and you'll jump and you'll try to work on that new idea. The problem with that is the new idea is going to go through the same cycle. And it seems exciting, but remember, it's in the uninformed optimism stage. So that idea, while it seems good, unfortunately, you're going to go right back down the same curve. So it's very dangerous to keep going down this sort of endless, terrible cycle where you have a new idea, you find out it's bad, you switch to a new idea, find out it's bad, switch to a new idea, find out it's bad. You do not want to go down this path. You want to at least give your chance to get to this point where you're able to potentially make that brilliant shift in what you were working on and actually have something that's going to make it, where you've entered into the informed optimism. That is the startup transition cycle, and best of luck.